It is autumn 1915. The war in the Western Front has been going on for over a year. Having broken out in July of 1914, a German soldat, a private in the German army, is on his way back to the trenches after completing his leave. In World War I, some German soldiers were granted just 2 weeks of leave after serving at least an entire year at the front. He arrives in the reserve rear of the trenches in the evening. He is tired after a day's march and is looking forward to reuniting with his comrades and having something to eat. As he enters the rear area bunker, he checks his rifle to make sure it is unloaded and safe to put down. He has brought a package from home which he plans to share later with his comrades. As well, he has mail in the form of a postcard. Mail which brings news from home is a welcome sight at the front. He places his knapsack down. The Germans call it a tornister. He now must open his knapsack, but first he removes the mess tin, which has been strapped onto the back of his knapsack. The German soldier would have half his rations stored away in his koschgeschirr, known as a mess tin. The other half was stored away in the tornister and known as a knapsack. The German soldier is opening up his knapsack. The knapsack could carry a soldier's personal effects, uniform items, and importantly, as mentioned before, it also carried half of his rations. The German army rations were quite standardised by the outbreak of war in 1914. This version of the iron ration was so common that very similar versions were still being used for the German Wehrmacht of World War II. Coincidentally, the iron rations during World War I were convenient to consume when German-filled kitchens were contaminated during gas attacks. During the establishment of the German Empire in the 19th century, the Prussian military was establishing ideas to feed its troops as efficiently as possible during military deployment. Following on from historical examples of technological development in long-term food preservation by other nations, we will see how this concept was adapted and expanded upon through the innovation of the tinned and the dry food-filled rations for the Prussian army. The 1914 standard German army one-day supply of Eiserne Bestand, known as the iron ration, was changed its name, later called the Marschproviant, known as the marching travelling ration. Now, let's take a look at some of the items in detail. This is the Erbswurst, or dry packet of Pea Ham Soup, usually consisting of a 135 gram packet split into 6 portions. No longer standard in the iron ration issue by 1914. However, older soldiers that were familiar with the using of Erbswurst as the old standard of iron ration still carried this around in reserve when opportunity arose from daily ration issues. Here we can see Zwieback, which is a rusk egg biscuit. Soldiers, however, could also be issued with 250 grams of Hardtack, also known as Hardtack, or 250 grams of shelf-stable bread, either a grey bread or Pumpernickel. Early in the war, the Germans still had actual coffee in their iron rations. The coffee could come in a bag, box or tin, which was around 25 grams. It could be both ground and whole bean depending on availability. After the Allied blockade of Germany took full effect, this was later substituted with Ersatz coffee, a substitute made from roasted acorns, chicory and beech nuts. Salt has been part of a soldier's ration since Roman times. Here we can see a salt bag of a single portion of 25 grams. This was generally the Bavarian brand called Bad Ration Heller, in a small box or a plain brown wrap. Next is a canned vegetable, 150 grams. Here you can see the vegetable is peas. However, there are other options such as beans. A canned serving of meat. Examples include beef or lard, 200 grams each, wurst, a type of blood sausage, liverwurst, etc., or the 300 gram schnicken ham, or a slightly more fatty version of today's luncheon meat, or 170 grams of bacon speck. A small bag of sugar containing 20 grams of the main field service ration. Store-bought versions of Hardtack, also known as Hardtack, these were manufactured ready to government specification by various bakeries throughout Germany since the Franco-Prussian War of 1817 to 1871. Standard 10 biscuits at 25 grams each made up a pack of 250 grams, and from packs of 500 grams were issued in all normal daily ration climates if available. Usually softened with stews or soups to make it easy to eat, this is allowed as a substitution to fresh bread or Zwieback rations. The outer wrapper was either plain paper with an inner liner or waxed as a water repellent, which was also aided in their being used as a kindling or fuel for makeshift stoves. Here we can see the German soldier preparing to eat his meal. He is eating it cold, as it sometimes was simply easier than starting a cooking fire at the front, even in the rear trenches. His comrades are relaxing and enjoying the meal he has brought from home. The soldier looks lovingly at a picture of his fiancée back home. His comrade calls him over to play a game of cards. But before that, they decided to share the ginger cookies brought from home. These German soldiers are from the 73rd Fusiliers, a Prussian regiment from Hanover, to commemorate the 3 Hanoverian units that fought in Gibraltar for the British during the Napoleonic Wars. The British garrison and their 3 Hanoverian battalions, one being the 73rd, had lasted over 3 years and 7 months under a siege by the Franco-Spanish Army and Navy of 1778. To honour the survivors of the siege, and to preserve and carry on the original Gibraltar regimental traditions, Kaiser Wilhelm II, in 1901, reauthorised the 3 battalions to wear a blue cloth cuff title with Gibraltar embroidered yellow on the lower right sleeve of their tunic. The soldiers finish the night with a game of skat, a German card game similar to the modern game of 31. This has been our video on the German Iron Ration of 1914. Thank you for listening and staying with us till the end. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more future content.